Hi everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about the big picture of the year 2022, what it is exactly that we can expect, at least from an astrological perspective. And in the second half of this recording, I'm going to be taking a look at this upcoming new moon in the sign of Capricorn taking place on the 2nd of January 2022. So next year, and of course in some parts of the world it's already next year, so this year basically, well, we're going to have a very different year than 2021. Perhaps this is the hidden catch. We have to make it different because certain energies are gonna stay with us. And when I say certain energies are gonna stay with us, well, this is where we have to expect everything to be incredibly unstable. The Pluto in Capricorn transit until 2024 is basically ongoing, so it is an unstoppable force, and chances are it's gonna manifest in its most extreme possible expressions in 2022 because it's the natal Pluto return of the United States, which is a very big deal for everyone, for every single country and nation in the world, because the United States is one of the most strongest nations, countries, world powers out there. So without a doubt, it's going to reverberate and echo everywhere. And this is the reason why I personally think it's gonna be a huge year. But of course, with this Pluto return, it is 2022-2023, so we won't see everything 100% unfold this year. Some of it is definitely going to be passed over to the year 2023, but that is a different theme, different topic. And I would like to say that I'll be here to guide you each and every step of the way when we get there. But as I said earlier, the year 2022 is totally unpredictable because chaos is in full force. And this is one of the major differences between 2021 and 2022. 2021 was more destructive. It was the destructive nature of chaos. For example, Uranus and Taurus. How very quickly it shattered certain customs and traditions everywhere, all throughout the world. For example, employment, methodology, traditions, even local customs. It profoundly changed, for example, people's value systems, and even in those parts of the world which are not really susceptible to it. For example, my own country, because here people are severely traumatized by the past, the recent past. Because just 32 years ago we were communists, so we were really oppressed. And truth be told, there and then, when the communism ended, the country didn't step into the future, it just died. And we are like zombies, emotionally, spiritually, materially, in every way, shape or form. We exist, and if someone else, an outsider, looks at us, they will always see so many nice things, prosperity, diversity, a boost of the intellectual element, and that's just a mirage, so to speak, because in truth, we're really dead. And even here, people started to become just a tiny bit more solitary in a strictly material way. For example, until 2020, to buy local produce, to buy from farmers, to buy from those people who work the land with their bare hands, because we are still in that phase. Unfortunately, we're 100 years behind of everyone else. People actually started supporting the farmers, the workers, those people who truly sacrifice to give the rest vegetables, fruit, apples, etc. And simultaneously, slowly and surely, they're stopping to support supermarkets. And of course, in the rest of the world, that is almost normal. That is a tendency that has been going on for the past 10 years, for example. But for us to see it here, that's beyond a miracle. Of course, it's too late. Of course, nothing will change. Of course, poverty will sweep over us and nothing good will happen. That's one thing. But the other thing is that the change actually happened even where it was almost impossible. And I tell you, there was not even a spark of hope that people, the severely traumatized and broken and defeated people, all generations included, so don't get me wrong, because who isn't included already left the country. So basically, something drove people, instinctually perhaps Taurus, and it somehow bypassed the lower mind and it went straight to the higher mind, if that makes sense, Uranus, and people really started to take action, and that was miraculous. But where I'm going with this is a more destructive expression of this energy, because it wants to target supermarkets, big chains, Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, the destruction. But 2022 is going to be the creative side of chaos. This is where, when there's an urgency, when there is a crisis situation, sometimes the solution just comes out of nowhere, chaos, and even without having the chance to profoundly analyze it and think it through, we will have no choice but to embrace it, adapt it, and make it part of our lives, basically, part of our normality. And Uranus in the sign of Taurus in 2022 is going to be really, really intense and strong, because the North Node also enters in this part of the sky into Taurus, and that means that at one moment Uranus will meet the North Node, and that's gonna be massive. That is a huge economical transformation and change, but it's unstable and unpredictable. And I'm perfectly sure that there are going to be some people out there, quite a lot, for whom this Uranus, the living chaos, meeting the North Node in Taurus, they're going to lose every single material possession that they ever had. While for other people, of course, it's going to be a massive gain. A big, big, big life change. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win the lottery or whatever, but you're gonna embrace material life, physical life, earthly life, in its full potential. You're gonna make it your own, and that is the big gain here. Of course, even those who lose everything, all their material possessions, money, etc., it's a purging, so naturally they will be guided later on to replace absolutely everything that they lost. But of course, all of this is going to be playing out on the world stage as well. So, the United States and its economy, its value system, the legislation, constitution, amendments, etc. is going to be very, very relevant. So, all eyes on the United States, because whatever happens there will echo all throughout the planet. Another really powerful energy is Neptune and Jupiter meeting in Pisces around April 12th or 13th of April 2022. Now, on first hand, this is ultimately a positive energy, because collectively it means that the spirit, Neptune, everything creative, everything artistic, everything that appeals to beauty, fantasy, imagination, including movies, theater, everything artistic, but mostly music, song, lyrics, the frequency, the harmonics, they are gonna flood the world, basically. And that means inspiration, that means elevated moods, that means optimism, everything that has to do with the healing effects and the dissolving effects of Jupiter. Because, for example, a truly beautiful song or an artistic creation, or even someone sharing their faith, spirituality, their Jupiter with you, it uplifts, it helps cure depression, anxiety, etc. So every gesture of compassion, empathy, even if it's spiritual or artistic, really, really helps. But Neptune and Jupiter, both of these planets, the ruling planets of Pisces, have everything to do with compassion, with Christ consciousness, with self-sacrifice, with sharing everything that you have with others, especially those who are needy, embodying the highest possible frequency for us personally of love. So this is good news for everyone. And when we speak about the expression of this energy, it is absolutely fine to be unpredictable and unstable, because when it comes to miracles, compassion, the divine being more present than ever in our lives, of course once every 12 years, but this is once every 200 something years, because it is extremely rare for Neptune and Jupiter to meet in Pisces. So everyone who is alive today and catches this energy, that's beyond once in a lifetime, because there are generations who will never ever experience this, because they will not be born in the right time frame. So I do imagine that this chaotic in itself meeting of Jupiter and Neptune, and even Venus will hang out around that degree in April. Well, this to me says divine intervention and miraculous manifestations of the spirit, which has mystery, undecipherable, unknowable, unfathomable written all over it. So it's actually in its natural element. So it's really, really positive. Now, another thing about 2022 is duality, strong duality. 2021 was dual year, but the duality was unstable in the sense that we were kind of embodying both sides of the spectrum. Sometimes we were black, sometimes we were white, sometimes we were optimistic, other times we were pessimistic. Sometimes we had no choice but to embody 3D in its survival and materialistic vibes in its full expression to survive. Other times we could allow ourselves to go as high as we wanted and soar on the wings of spirit. So basically we had both expressions of this duality, even within us and in every area of lives, manifest at the same time. Now in 2022 this becomes separate. So the duality crystallizes, and we will have to make our choices, not consciously of course, because Pisces operates on feelings and frequency ultimately. So exactly now when the year is turning, so to speak, we already made the choice of which frequency of the duality we're going to be embodying in 2022, and that is what's going to ultimately stay with us. And if we want to change it, well, we have to do everything within our power, spiritually, psychologically, through affirmations or controlling our way of thinking, to get to the opposite frequency. For example, if we're drowned in doom and gloom, sorrow, self-victimization, loneliness, etc., we will have no choice but to force ourselves to concentrate any way that we can on the opposite of for example, hope, having that special someone pop up in our lives, almost to the degree of being obsessed with that, even though material reality might contradict us all the time. This is the magic of Jupiter. As long as we can hold on to that last spark of hope, even if physical reality contradicts us, we can actually make it. And as I said, this is a very rare celestial conversation. Of course, after May, this Jupiter will move into the sign of Aries. That will be the moment when we have to embody our sovereignty and fight with everything that we got for our will, our desire, our initiation to become real. So this to me says, of Jupiter into Aries, that 2022 is also going to be a big fight, the Mein Kampf kind of expression, both individually, and individually of course we're going to fight Jupiter moving from Pisces into Aries. So for our dreams, that big dream, our big ideal, we will give everything that we have into making it. Pisces is the realm of the imagination, fantasy, the divine within us. And when it moves onto Aries, well, that is where the dream has to become real. It has to be born. Aries, the first breath, the initiation. Of course, Jupiter will retrograde back into Pisces later on in the autumn. So it will add the finishing touches to the dream, basically. And then in December, move into Aries for good. So that will be a moment when we will go back onto fighting for our dreams, but probably we will have much more than we had at the beginning of the year. So we will have the tools, the opportunities, the people, the inner strength, the big picture, the fantasy. Or we are gonna be defeated totally, and Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries will represent the birth of the new goal, of the new dream, that which we might not even be able to anticipate yet. And when I say, duality means that any kind of expression of the energy can play out both ways. So no one is safe. No one can actually know 100% that they already made it or that they already lost, because it's really, really uncertain. This is where the divine is actually a co-creator, but with Jupiter and Pisces in a very, how should I even say, literal sense, where half of it is your contribution, but the divine will take that where it wants to, where it sees more fit. So, of course, this energy is a massive wish fulfillment for many people, but the divine will fulfill the wish as it sees best. So we don't have that much control over it. The only control we have is over our frequency. Now, of course, all of this is absolutely beautiful, but Jupiter meeting Neptune also have some very scary and gruesome expressions. For example, the physical one, floods that we haven't seen for a lot of years, hundreds of years. That's one expression of this energy. Now, the other expression of this energy, well, Pisces is our unconscious and also where karma is stored within our being. So for some people, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry to even have to say this, this is a kind of suicidal energy, because Neptune can be also seen as the other side of the spirit, the devil, the opposer, the illusion, the lie, the toxic fantasy. If your inner voice, if your intuition, if something, the spirit inside of you, but the spirit which is suffering, afflicted by self-victimization, the worst expression of Pisces, well, it's telling you non-stop, life is useless, worthless, there is no happiness here, everyone's gonna abandon you. Look back at your life and see how many times you got hurt. It's pointless to even continue. Well, imagine what Jupiter and Neptune together will create out of that. Nothing good. Yet at the same time, this can also be a life-saving energy, because being honest with your feelings is supported, is encouraged. Yes, of course, you have to tell the divine that, look, I can't take it anymore. I cannot live my life like this. But give it a chance to do something for you. Go and, plead your case with trust and with believing in the divine mystery. Not necessarily in the laws, in the rules, in religion, in the Bible, in anything. Just believe in the mystery, in the magic, in the full potential, in the quantum potential of your soul, of desire, of the whole matrix thing. Glitches exist and everywhere, and maybe a divine intervention can be in the form of a glitch. Like your situation is hopeless, nothing can happen, and a glitch, and then, I don't know, you win the lottery, or you meet the love of your life, you meet an ultra rich person who is obsessed by you, and you don't even have to do anything. They will just help you unconditionally, even if you reject them. The divine can work in so many mysterious ways, and it is the mystery, it is the magic that we need to trust At this time at least, not the Sagittarian things, but the Piscean things. For example, even if you're religious, every religion has a mysticism to it. Of course, that which is not going to be spoken of at the church, at the mass, wherever you're going, or not even in the Bible, but there is mysticism, especially in Catholicism, the Orthodox religion. Everything is mystical. If you just are open to it, you will find exactly what it is that you need to do to pump up or amp up your faith and spiritual power, even religiously. So that's why this is a great potential. And also with the meeting of Jupiter and Neptune, there are gonna be big, catchy songs that are gonna be immortal. This is definitely the period for big singles, big schlagers, but those which are so good, so inspirational that, as I said, they become immortal. This is also going to be a period when big artists reinvent themselves and offer us something that we never expected of them. When new artists, unknown names, but with talent that basically moves mountains, are gonna shock and impress all of us. And naturally, Pisces, the third decan of Pisces, undoing of the self, big legends that are immortal already are gonna leave us. They're gonna basically turn into spirit, become immortal in a proper sense. But of course, there's also the unfavorable expression. Depression, anxiety, suicide waves is gonna sweep over the world. And this is the duality of Pisces. Yes, there is a lot of mental health problem, especially now, but there are a lot of healers as well. There were never ever as many healers, regardless if we're talking about doctors, psychiatrists, astrologers, psychologists, parapsychologists, shamans, mystics, clerics, priests, whatever shape or form the healer and the healing takes, it's available, it's out there. And chances are with Neptune and Jupiter, it's free. People want to help unconditionally. So there will also be help out there, and a lot of people are going to be saved. And the healers, by helping, are going to also save themselves. But of course, there's the other expression of Neptune, because as I said, Neptune is the spirit, and the spirit can be, also the spirit of deception. And deception is going to be a big keyword in 2022, because you can imagine that this mass psychosis, the manipulation, the psychological warfare, the brainwashing, which is literal now, it is not hidden, it is available for everyone to see exactly as it is, unfold, unhindered, uncovered, revealed in its full glory, and we can just look at it, see it, and question how other people don't see the same thing. Now that is gonna have massive victims in 2022. So basically with Jupiter and Neptune, that also means that for some people it is where they're gonna be trapped in the illusion basically forever. Now another very important thing that takes place in 2022, and this is where it's on the 19th of January, so the very beginning, is the nodes of the moon moving into Taurus and Scorpio axis. The south node moves out from Sagittarius onto Scorpio, and this is so important because this means healing. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. Healing can take many shapes and forms. So if regeneration, rebirth, profound emotional and psychological unconscious cleansing is possible, for a lot of people that will happen under the South Node and Scorpio. Release, resolve, forgiveness, finally, plucking out the trauma by its roots from the core of your being. while for other people who for any reason cannot manage, it's gonna be salt and wounds all year around. When everything in life which might remind him of the trauma, of the betrayal, of the hurt, when someone cheated on them, someone made them feel unattractive, ugly, etc., salt in the wounds all throughout the year. And this is, just observe life, reality, especially the lives of other people, your friends, acquaintances, and you will see this play out. And I'm so sorry I cannot dress this in a much more beautiful clothing or words and expression, but this is how it's gonna be. Salt on wounds all year around for those who are unable to heal. But this is also where we can see the evolutionary intent of the great divine plan. We have been through so many life-changing purges from 2018 onwards, and this was the reason for that hardship, for the dark night of the soul, for the depression, for reliving, reenacting all childhood and every single trauma you ever had, for you to be free of these when the South Node enters Scorpio. Because when you already worked with this process, what does the South Node do? Helps you transform, helps you heal, helps you move on, helps you get money, helps you get out of debt, helps you, embody a healthy sense of self-worth, even if you don't know how, even if you never felt valuable in your life. That South Node can do the work for you. Because you already know your traumas, you already apologized, you already forgave, you already done everything that you needed to do. So that is what's left. And with the North Node in Taurus, that's a massive help. The North Node in Taurus kind of helps you fixate on the real and true value that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Let me just give you a simple example. You have to choose between two jobs. One fits you like a glove, but it doesn't promise you a very big financial future. And one is a nightmare, but it might help you get that house in a year. And you choose that which on a soul level the true value is. The job which makes you happy and you don't care about the rest. And maybe that money that you needed comes to you in another area of your life. So this is where, because of that North Node in Taurus, if we are wise and if we have learned anything in this life, in this incarnation, that is how very important, imperative someone's true happiness is. And when I say true happiness, this is a big contrast with the false happiness, the South Node in Scorpio. False happiness is when you're seeking those things which have been conditioned onto you, which have been programmed into you to seek. Because someone, a parent, a teacher, life, something taught you impactfully, as in a way that you cannot dismiss that teaching. That happiness is when you have a lot of money. Happiness is when, your partner is perfectly loyal to you, obeys your every command. Happiness is when you have a lot of friends. Happiness is when people praise you. Happiness is when you're beautiful and shining and have the best clothes and stuff like that. So this is where we processed all the lies and the conditioning. So all that is left is our genuine desire to be happy, and happiness can be found everywhere. And those of us who learn this lesson are definitely gonna quantum leap into it, into executing it. For those who couldn't for any reason, well, this is the period when they're gonna learn this lesson, and they will finally, for the rest of their lives, or at least the next 18 years, know what true value for them personally is, and they're gonna seek it. And when you know what you desire, what your soul desires, you become magnetic. You attract it into your life. Especially with Jupiter in Pisces as well. That spiritual attraction, that is where, as long as your soul wants it, truthfully, in a pure way, it comes to you. And now another expression of the Scorpio, South Node in Scorpio, sexual healing and regeneration, especially those people who never ever felt pleasure in their lives for real. This is gonna be a fantastic year for them when they will feel that they're actual human beings made of flesh for the first time in their lives. South Node in Scorpio also, the dark side of sexuality. Sexual secrets coming out, crimes committed of sexual nature committed in big places and by big and influential people. All of those are gonna reign on the public stage. News, trials, legal cases, communication discoveries, revelations by accident, by coincidence. Basically, the scorpionic energy, you turn into that which you pursued all your life. And let me just give you an example. If you're a pedophile, well, what is the fate of a pedophile? Prison. Or anything alternative, but the thing is, those who harm the young, those who harm the future children in any species, well, they're kind of expelled. And of course, another expression of the South Node in Scorpio, the occult. Everything that has to do with the occult, mysteries, secrets, even conspiracies. Any kind of expression of any frequency of the scorpionic representation. Well, that's gonna become so popular. And chances are, relevant representatives, those who embody the symbolism of Scorpio, like occultists, mystics, etc. But don't get me wrong, this is South Node. So not the modern happy joy, psychotherapy, nothing like that. But the original, the real, those who are extremely powerful and have like real life paranormal abilities. Of course, they worked for it, they studied, but not the modern frequency, not the new age. Absolutely not the new age. Those will kind of show themselves, and naturally they will dethrone this new age current. Like, for example, put together a new age shaman and a real shaman. You can imagine that all one can do is just blah 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 talk and maybe give a cup of tea, while the other shaman can do the hardcore stuff, summon spirits, converse with spirits, and anything that basically the creator gave an authority over the elements that the creator gave unto the real shaman. But this also goes hand in hand with the theme duality. That which is fake wannabe has to be confronted with the real, because that is the only way values change and transform Scorpio. And of course this will reflect in Taurus. Nature, the North Node in Taurus, nature rises up. Nature puts the crown back on her head and sits in her throne as supreme authority. That has positive and negative expressions, because the negative is natural calamities, the likes of which we haven't seen in a lot of years, especially earthquakes, earthslides, magnetic changes, extremely weird and dangerous weather. Uranus meets the North Node in Taurus, and if that wasn't enough, Mars has a lot of relevant conversations and transits and retrogrades, and Mars will activate this, so it's gonna be really intense. Mars is explosion, big booms. Uranus is electric shock or earthquakes or unexpected, uncontrollable phenomenon. So if 2021 and 2020 was a pretty tough year in the sense of natural calamities, for example, the earthquake in Croatia in 2020, well, just wait, because 2022 will top that. But of course, Mother Nature can show her authority and her supremacy in so very many different ways, as people will feel an irresistible urge to go back into nature and connect, and this will play out in masses. People will simply quit their jobs, their normal lifestyle, and irresistibly feel this calling to go and live in nature. And we will see this play out in every part of the world. And this influences everything that has to do with nature, agriculture, the way we grow food, our relation with the living earth, with forests, trees, etc. In the sense that, of course, there are going to be new laws protecting it. There are going to be new ways of cultivating the land, which kind of oppose the modern take and go back to the way our ancestors used to do it. But this is the duality. At the same time, technology will advance. At the same time, there will be genetic experiments improving crops, plants, etc. So everything will play out at the same time, and chances are it's really up to us for the modern but also the original, so the ancient, to coexist in harmony, and they don't have to battle one another. The North Node in Taurus, massive changes in economy. Of course, this can also represent a dangerous moment when the economy crashes. But even if it does, it's like a reboot. It is just like a short reset. Because ultimately, Uranus has to triumph. Uranus has to bring in the new, the next, the long term, that which has to stay with us for the next maybe 20 or even more, 200 years. It has to set the seeds of the new customs and traditions that will be the support columns of the economic stability of the future, of the coming decades. And they will be based on freedom, equality, equity, humanitarianism, and basically no one to be left behind, because that is Uranus and Aquarius. As a reference, how did the last transit of Uranus in the sign of Taurus in the 30s, the Great Depression, transform not just the US's economy, but the whole world? It upgraded it and it made it more fair and humanitarian than it ever was. So that's the evolutionary intent. But of course, it's not gonna be easy because, as I said, Mars is also incredibly active, and we also have a Mars retrograde, also in the sign of Gemini. So we will have to change our way of thinking forever, because this is how we enter the future. Things don't work the same way. And this isn't just some metaphysical theory that I'm talking about, but this is real life. For example, if someone wanted a new career in just maybe 2 years ago in the old paradigm, they had to go through all the gatekeepers. So this course, that course, diploma, specialization, re-specialization, meet the standards, legislation, work legislation, employment, all of this complicated Capricornian expression. This has to change. So the new way of thinking, of going about changing a career, getting a new job, is seeing what appeals to your heart, what would stir your passion, and one way or another, starting it, trying it out. But of course, this is just an example, because you can imagine that this won't be instant. This will start reflecting in outer reality in the sense that coaches, trainers, mentors, way showers, guiding people exactly what to do when they want to change their careers, etc., will pop up out there. And when there'll be enough of them, you can imagine that even centralized power, the basic traditions of how everything used to work, will readapt to this. Maybe job centers and work legislation will have to ultimately be transformed in a radical way so that it gives everyone maybe an equal chance regardless of their diploma, skill, experience. and make it basically fair for everyone. Of course, this won't complete this year in 2022, but the seeds are gonna be planted. The first expressions of this, the alpha, so to speak, is already gonna exist in an alternative way. And then the last thing I would like to mention about 2022, well, the numerology of the year, 222, which equals 6. So this means that the spirit already manifested in matter, and that needs to grow, build itself, and follow the pattern. So even though it is a very, very prosperous, very lucrative energy like clay, it's already there in your hands. Feel free to fashion it as you want. Give it shape, give it form, give it purpose, give it a name, give it anything, and then put it in the oven, and it becomes your sculpture. 2021 was more like purchasing the clay, the best quality clay, and reading the instructions and learning how to go about the sculpture process and experimenting. But in 2022, the experiment is already like proper. So let's see what creations you are going to make from your symbolic clay. But there is a massive condition to this. 2. You kind of have to work in pairs. And what pair means, it doesn't necessarily mean romantic partnership, husband, wife, or even non-romantically, me and my associate, me and my friend, me and this and that. It can simply mean that you need to be connected to someone or something out there, a community, local community on the internet, spirit tribe, the church that you go to, anything where there are other people at least sharing the same values, ideals, something. Naturally, partnership, romance, soulmate, best friend, business partner, my best friend, my very, very good neighbor, etc. and etc. All of this is a perfect representation of what 2 can mean. So as long as you're not totally alone in your life, and when I say totally alone in your life, I do mean that the connection has to be authentic. And chances are, like for example my case, my connection to other people is just my work. So for example, my example is the bad example because that's not real connection. But where I'm going with this is, in any way, shape or form, maybe emotionally, maybe spiritually, maybe materially, maybe for a project, maybe to cry on someone's shoulder or to share that which you feel, maybe your epiphanies, your bright business ideas, both good and bad, but we kind of need to share. So everyone who is connected to a community, a group, a person, even a partner, even if it's very, very long distance, but you genuinely love each other and have a connection, that is really, really good, because the evolution, the groundbreak, the breakthrough, the big leap goes in 2s. So it's you and the community, you and the partner, you and everything that you're connected to. Unfortunately, for hermit type of people, for those who don't have anyone in their lives, who live in communities where they're totally alone, where they're aliens, strangers, cannot share even a word with anyone, well, it's not gonna be easy emotionally, because everything in your soul is gonna scream at you, I don't want to be alone anymore. But unfortunately, it is what it is. So basically, this is also my advice and my suggestion. Regardless if you're alone and solitary, a hermit, for your spiritual journey or for any reason, maybe this year you should try to open up just a little bit, because surviving alone, even if you're like, I don't know, enlightened, ascended, even if you're a demigod, your powers or whatever, your spiritual allies, everything that is not a living, breathing human being, is chances are it's not going to help you as much, because the spirit alone is not enough, how should I say, to give you that proper lived experience. And the North Node and Taurus, we cannot spiritually and psychologically bypass this now. So we can tell ourselves, oh, I don't need anyone because my guardian spirit, the Christ, Buddha, who knows who is here and helping me. It won't help. It won't even bring a smile to your face, but the contrary. And perhaps this is the cruelty in it, that with Neptune and Venus and Jupiter conjunction together, making the compromise of just saying yes to a person you don't really love or who you're not really attracted to is gonna be futile. So this is where you just have to converse directly with your creator of how the spirit can help you, but physically, in a real way, to not make you feel as lonely or as abandoned or not living in the real world, because it's gonna be very, very hard. And probably this part was my very own Freudian projection, because I think I'm saying this to myself, preparing myself not to have that many hopes. But anyway, as I said earlier, this year is a total surprise. We know the patterns, we know what is supposed to happen, but the precise way of how that will play out, that is unpredictable, that is chaos, creative chaos. Our lives are gonna change drastically, so we'll just have to live and see and adapt as we go along. Now in this last part, I would just like to say a couple of words about this Capricorn new moon we have on the 2nd of January. So what a symbolic beginning of the new year. And this is really, really important because it's a Capricorn new moon, so a very strong earthly cardinal energy. The way I see this play out individually, well, it's quite simple. Regardless in which area of life this Capricorn is, this is where something inside of your soul says, this is the moment when I really have to take control over my life. This is where I have to be my manager in every way, shape, or form. Maybe managing your money, time, your thoughts, your feelings, your unconscious mind, your friends, your family, etc. You have to take back your power. You have to embody the spirit of initiation. When you want something, new moon is new beginning. When you want something, you will just have to go for it with courage, strength, ambition, determination, and with maximum belief in yourself. And this new moon is trined by Uranus, so surprise, and also material blessing. If you decide that you really want to start something, you want to initiate something by, first of all, taking control of your life, chances are you're gonna be rewarded. Or the universe, your own personal karma or physical reality can offer you something, not the whole thing, but an element to help you in this quest of yours. Exactly where this Capricorn 12 degrees of Capricorn is in your personal chart. Like for example, you need money for a project and you get a financing, a loan, a credit, maybe a non-reversible credit from the government, a charitable organization, a sponsor. You're looking to move houses, but you just can't get the rent money. And the next day you get a new job offer and it's risky, Uranus, and it's also leap of faith, and you say, well, I'm gonna do it. I need that rent so much that I'm gonna do it. But of course, this can play out in every way, shape, or form because Uranus is surprise. Now, collectively speaking, well, this is a little bit rebellious because Uranus trines this new moon. But who rebels? People against centralized power, Capricorn, or centralized power shut the door in people's faces, but in a way that they cannot retaliate. It doesn't matter how it plays out because Uranus, it serves the quantum leap. It gets the job done even if it's chaotic or even if it doesn't necessarily serve the side which might deserve the freedom, if you know what I mean, but it gets the job done. But individually speaking, this is a really beautiful energy because at this moment, Mars sextiles Saturn, and Saturn is the ruling planet of Capricorn. So that's a really good energy for work. That is a really good energy for everything that you want to invest your willpower, strength, time, blood, sweat, and tears into. Especially if it's something new. Especially if you want to initiate something new, create something new, a new job, a new anything that is susceptible to the energy of working for something new, innovation, improvements, or of course a totally new beginning as well, that is also included. And also the last thing I would like to mention is that symbolically this new moon taking place on the 2nd of January, well, it does mean that this year, 2022, is gonna be a massive rush. So a lot of things that need to be completed or a lot of obstacles that need to be overcome we're gonna be rushed, both karmically, mentally, situationally. So this is not gonna be a year when we can just relax and go with the flow. Chances are we might have to make so difficult decision this year that we won't have any choice but to do the impossible and direct the flow in a different direction. You know, when someone has no choice, I mean someone, a city, a council, country, but to alter the course of a river, which is a monumental work. And it needs so much planning, so much mastery, so many resources, so many workforce. So for some of us, it's gonna be this big, that if the flow doesn't go where we urgently need it to go, we will have no choice but to do something so drastic, so big, to change the course of the flow itself. So this concludes today's recording. Thank you so much for being with me all throughout the year. Thank you so much for all the support, all the kindness, all the truly beautiful comments and emails and the gratitude. It means so much to me, and I simply wouldn't have been here without your help, guys. So thank you so very much, and wish everyone a blessed, miraculous, and really strongly Jupiterian New Year. And you know, Jupiter in Pisces, in mysticism, is always called wish fulfillment. So I really hope that everyone who listens to this will have a big wish, a dream fulfilled in 2022. Thank you so much for everything again. Many blessings, and until next time, bye for now.